So now what we want to do is create a type along the path. The next step on page 187 going into page 188 of our text. We want to go down to my background. They said select the background layer, so we'll do that, select that, so I'm not having to put my text on any of these layers, put it below the character layer. And then I'm going to go to where it says paths here, and I'm going to highlight my speech path, which came with this file. So it was a pre-drawn vector path, so they drew this path in here. And now I want to go to my text key, and in this case they want the text to be 16 points instead of 144. Now to show my character, I'm going to go to Window, Character, and characters are adjusting your text, your font, the text. So I'm going to click Character, and mine open up here because I have mine docked in here. So if I want for quick access, I have this as my character window, and I can just click on it and it's there. So now I want to change this to 16. Now I can scroll it this way, or I can come right in here, text, type 16. Good. This is my tracking. The distance of the letters are apart from each other. So I'm going to set this to -10. And the way I did that, they have the drop down here. So we'll do -10 for the distance. And I want them to be capital. So I have that selected already. The double T's here, capital T's, all caps. And just scroll over to the different things to see what they are. Faux text, faux bold. So you got different things and experiment with them. I mean, you got different ways of experimenting with them. So I have that. The parameters are myriad pros. The font we want to use, semi-bold is good. So I'm going to go here. Now, to type on the text, as I bring my text, I have my text selected here. I'm coming over to this vector path. As I'm on it, I'm moving it, and you have this little I-beam icon. See it right here by his nose, moving it over. And they call it I-beam because it looks like a structural I-beam. But as I bring it down to the vector line, you see it gets that little squiggle cross on it. So on there, that's telling me it's ready to type along the vector line. If I typed without that cursor before, the text would not be associated with that vector line. So I want to make sure. So other key point when we're doing this along the vector line, I'm typing over here on the right side and not over here. It's going to make us to adjust where the type begins to start on the type line easier. So I'm over here to the right side of the vector line, and I'm going to click because I have that little squiggly line that shows the intersection of the vector line, and I'm going to click, and then I'm ready to type. And I mustn't have hit 16 there, but so what I want to do is come up here and type 16. I don't know why that got so large like that. So I'll just do it again. Come back here. Speech path. All right. I'm here. Click. And now I'm at 16. Okay. So what I want to type in is what's new. Okay, where did the new go? I typed in what's new with games, and it's not showing up. So what I want to do is to come over here to my selection arrow, my direct selection tool, which is located right under the horizontal type tool. The default one is this black arrow, and that is called, hover over it, path selection tool. So we got that's your black arrow tool. And we want the white arrow tool. It's what's nested in here. Direct selection tool. We want that. And with that, I'm going to come over to the my vector line, and you see how I get this I-beam with the black arrow. So as I come over here, I'm going to take that, select, and drag out. So there's the what's new. So you can see how it's moving. I'm going to drag that crosshairs here right to the end of the line. So I've opened up my space so I can write my text on the line. Now, I'm still holding down on the mouse, and if I bring this I-beam with the white arrow in this case because it's selected down below, it flips my type over. Because what has happened is I crossed over my vector line. So I started here, and if I cross over my type becomes inverted upside down. So I want to stay on this side, and I want to just drag back to the end of my vector line here. So I have that. So what that has done is open this up, and that's why when we started closer to this side. Now I'm going to come back to my type tool, come over here, I'm going to type right on the W. I'm on the left side of the W, use my arrow key to space over. What's new with games? Question mark. And then I have that there, so I can take a look, and I have what's new with games. Now, if I want to create my own vector line, and just to see how that works, I could do that. I could take the pen tool, which is here, select my pen tool. I could put a point in here. I'm going to just turn. I'm still holding the mouse. I'm turning to drag out my handles. So I'll have some curves on my pen tool. Come over here and put a second point. And I forgot to hold down on my pen tool while I clicked it, and so I don't have handles over here. Easy fix. We come over to where our pen tool is nested at the bottom. We have the convert point tool down here at the bottom. I come over here to this. You see, you get that less than type arrow, greater than, less than, and it brings out the handles this way. So I want to kind of mimic the same way this is going. Now, when I want to adjust these points and these handles, I want to go back to my direct selection tool over here, the white arrow, and I can take that and drag this, kind of mimic that. Drag that point, adjust that point. I can move this point up, put a little more curve into it, and even when we put the text on there, we'll have flexibility to change it also. Good enough for right now. Let's see how that looks. So I'm going to go back to my text. Everything's the same. 16 point where I want to be. Remember, I want to start over here to the right side of my vector line. So I'm going to click here and type in what's new with, wow, nothing's showing up. Okay, so what I want to do, again, come over to my direct selection tool, come over here, got my icon with the black arrow. I want to make sure I'm seeing that. Where to go, come back. There it is. So I have it. I'm going to drag, and I'm going to drag all the way to the end. So I'm dragging this right to the end. And so I have that. And I come back to my type tool. Finish typing. I'll make sure I'm on the line. I like to select. So I know I'm there when I select it to the left side of that H. Arrow key over, space, what's new with MP3s? Question mark. And so I have that. Now I want to say if I want to adjust that at all, I can still come back to my arrow key, and I can, if I close it down, shorten it up. It's not long enough. Bring it back up. I can still maneuver my paths. So you have a little flexibility. If I want to bring this closer to his mouth, this higher up in the air. You know, I don't have to be exact of what they have here, but I can look at this and say, before I switch over, just so I don't lose anything, what I want to just do is do a file save. Sometimes if you switch out in the middle of something, it's not going to always happen, but I saved it. I liked what I was going with. I'm going to come back over here to the end, and they got something like that going on. A little bit of a arc there, which is nice. Try to mimic that, bring that up here a little bit. So I have that there. I could even come back to this layer. Let's go to the work path, nope, speech path here, and I can bring this down a little bit if I want. That's actually the work path. Speech path. Okay, so we have that going on. I think I have the wrong layer selected in here, and that's why it's not working. So I need to select this layer, then come over to here, and then I can do it. So I went back out off my paths there. Go back to my paths. Work path. All right. Pay no attention to this man behind a mouse. There are ways to do it, kind of maneuvering it. It should line up there. There we go. So there we got it moving. Have what's new with games type path I needed selected here, and I also needed this selected here in my past one. Sometimes it's going to happen. Figure out what it is. It's not something I use every day, so I got to remind myself how it works and how it goes. And that's going to be like that as you go in through all these lessons. You know, a lot of stuff you can say, oh yeah, I remember how to do that. How do I do it? You're going to do a little experimenting to find out, to remember how to do it. But at least you had that initial experience with it. And you might not retain everything you worked on, but you'll know that it's possible to do. You might have to play around a little bit. It's part of the process. Okay. What I'm going to do with what's new with games, so I want to create the last one, what's new with phones, I'm going to duplicate this layer. So I'm going to have this selected. I want to make sure that this layer is selected here. And I'm going to right click on it. And it comes up, duplicate layer. So I'm going to duplicate that layer. Say OK there, or click it. And I'm going to change this to, phones. So I have that. Come on, everybody. Waiting on you. So it's new with phones. Say OK. And so this layer is highlighted. I can come up to my move key, and I can take that and drag that down. So I'm going to put that about there. Now I want to bring this down here. So I'm going to come over with my direct selection, white arrow. Come over here. Select this. And this text, this vector line has 3 points. And so you see as I'm moving it, some things are getting lost, some are back. We just have to maneuver around. You don't want to be right on top of each other. We can adjust these points. Drag that in a little bit. And I want to come back, what's new with games, come back here. If we want to select the whole line, then that's where that path selection tool comes. The black arrow comes in. I can just take this. Command Z on that. Didn't want to do that. Just grab it. All right, on the sun line. Best way to do is come over here to your move tool. Take it. Reposition to where you want it. Come back over to this one. We got to select it over here. What's new with phones? Let's reorder these so I have MP3 phones. Kind of matches the order here. Makes it easier. Not necessary. Come over here. Phones. And I'm moving the handles. I want to try to move this dot up a little bit. What's new with games? I have that going on. Come back with the games. So you can manipulate it. You know, everything's not magic. You got to play around with it a little bit just to get everything to work to where you want it. This one we only put in the 2 points. We got that going on. If I wanted to add a third point here, I can do that. Go to my pen tool, add an anchor point. Come in here, you get that plus sign on the vector line, adds it in. Come back over to my quick selection, direct selection tool. And when I'm in these two, I hit the A key. I switch over to that tool. And I'll grab my handle. I want to grab that point. Try something like that. Extend it out a little bit. Now, if I wanted to spread this out a little bit more, I can come back to my type tool, come here, and select it. Let's see the best way to select that here. And I could come back over to my character thing and adjust this to -5. Kind of spreads it out a little more. I went to 5. It's what it's doing is spreading the text out a little bit. Doesn't have to be exact as the thing. So everything's a visual, how you think it's going to look the best. All right, so we have that going on. Now what I want to do is to warp the text. So we're going to go right-click on here, and it says Warp Text. And what I'm going to do is do it to a wave. So you get different arcs, arc lower, or experiment with these to see what they do. But right now we're calling for a wave warp. So I'm going to select wave here from the style, horizontal, and the blend 50%. What is the, so I just move it around. That one looks good. Horizontal distance. You're just trying to get a little bit of a life into it, to what we wrote up there. Vertical distortion. Go this way with it. So you want to experiment. You say, okay. So you don't want to look two things, want to look readable. Now, even when it's like that, we can adjust. So it's a little bit of a steep curve there. So I'm coming over here to select it. Maybe we can't adjust it. All right, so let's go down to the next one, and then we can do warp the text there also. So right click, warp text. Again, we'll choose wave. And we'll check out. Yeah, cool, plus 84, that's all right. And let's see the vertical. All right. And phones, right click, warp text, style wave. There we go. Telephone's ringing. I'm not home. Okay. What I'm going to do is kind of end it here. We're going to end up looking with this. Somebody answer the phone. All right. You want to get here? I had the text. I want it to be white here instead of black. So what I want to do is kind of look back with my text. Come back and highlight it. Change it to the white here. And I'm going to change that to 255, which I said earlier is pure white. 255, tab, 255, tab, 255. Now I got a pure white on there, so I'm going to hit return. Boom. Got my white text is going to show up there. Come over to my games layer. So that's what going through. I wasn't exactly reading the book, but if you miss it, easy fixes. And move on to the next thing. So thanks for listening, and if you have any other questions regarding finishing this up, let me know. But I think these were the key points that we needed to know for this lesson, and I think you should be good to go with just adding the text, which should be fairly straightforward if you follow the book.